Da, 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 da. The history of hardcore. You know, it's all about the history. The history of hardcore podcast. The history of hardcore podcast. Okay, so welcome to part 3 of History of Hardcore podcast. We are, as you can see, in the house today with our very special guest, the man like DJ Pilgrim, Midlands Mixmaster. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's been a historical day today.
Yeah, it has. It's been ages since I've seen you as well.
I just mean it's historical, 6th of May 2023, and Prince Charles has been also his coronation. So. Oh yeah, your friend. I know, won't get
Who's that?
Prince Charles.
Who's he?
Well, King Charles it is now.
Who?
Yeah.
No, we'll leave
Charles.
that.
Oh, yes, he is.
We're not going into what my
Well, yeah, it's a
feelings
historic
are.
day anyway.
It is, mate. It's a historic day because we're sat here together.
That was it.
And we're going to talk a little music. We're going to talk a little graffiti. We're going to talk a little bit about everything, basically.
Sounds like we're going to do a lot of talking.
Yeah, we normally do though, don't we? we do
Normally there's food involved.
There's normally food. Well, we've already eaten, so there was food involved.
Yeah.
Just already. So let's start at the beginning of your journey on the planet Earth, basically. Where are you from, Paul?
So, I am from Wolverhampton.
Okay, so Wolverhampton, beautiful place. Lived there myself for a while on the glorious Whitmore Rings.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very familiar with it. Tell me a little bit about your childhood, about growing up.
Well,
You know, the life that you lived. What kind of life did you have as a child?
I mean, we are going back here then.
Yeah, mate, we're digging deep. We're going way back.
Deep. So, yeah, I was born 1970.
Right.
I won't go into the details of how that happened.
Yeah.
Um,
Immaculate conception.
yeah. So yeah, I've got a sister. Unfortunately, my mother and father are no longer with us. Rest in peace.
God
My
bless
dad's
their
from
souls.
Barbados, so Bayesian. Yeah, growing up, I suppose I was a quiet kid, believe it or not. I was well into my football, and over the years I got into music. So
Just
probably
quickly, what happened with the football?
football.
You were into football, but you're not a big football fan now. I
Yeah,
know
no.
that. Like,
I think
every
it's
time
one
I
of those-
talk football, you
Yeah.
switch conversation.
Yeah, I'm not a passionate football person. I used to be because I think as a kid, it was like kind of what you get into.
Were
There
you
was things
Wolves?
like World of Sport. No, Liverpool.
Liverpool.
Yeah, I suppose I was a glory hunter back then.
That makes sense.
It was like the Emlyn Hughes era,
Yeah.
Kenny Dalglish,
Yeah.
John Barnes, Phil Thompson, Phil
It was a
Neal.
golden era for Liverpool, that wasn't it?
Yeah, so about 1977, that kind of time. But as a kid, I used to play out in the back garden on my own, kicking a football up the wall,
Yeah.
pretending that I was a goalie, then I was pretending I was a striker. So, yeah, I was big into football, I had my sticker albums and everything. And then I think I got into music because breakdancing became very popular and took over all the schools. I was never a breaker, so that's why I went into
Did you
the
try?
art side of things. Yeah, I did.
More like a bull in a china shop than a
I could do
breakdancer.
a bit of a backspin. I could
Yeah.
do some footwork. I could never head spin. I could never windmill. So yeah, my
I
career
struggle
as
with
a
any of
breaker
those.
was like very short lived.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was into music. I loved hip hop, and I think my passion for that then took over football.
Okay.
So I kind of dwindled out of football really. And
Did you find that the street art and graffiti side of things sort of distracted you when you went into music away from football? And
well, that would have been, I would have said that I started to get more into like the art side of things probably about 1984, 85.
Right, okay.
So there was a couple of people who I hung out with at school who we were like breaking together and we were into the music and
Yeah.
we were watching films like Beat Street, and then obviously the art side of that was appealing to me, and I was
Right.
practicing and then I started to do that more. So I was listening to the music, but then I think the art side of things took over more. And then about 85, 86, I kind of left school and became a full-time tagger.
But yeah,
But,
we could say you're pretty creative and good with your hands, couldn't we?
Yeah,
Let's be honest. 'Cause to watch you DJing, or whether it's to watch you know, doing street art, graffiti, as I've just stood out the back of the shop here and watched you, you got it down to a T. You make it look easy, and the same with your mixing. When you watch your mixing, you make it look easy. So from an outsider's perspective, Your hands are your tools.
They are actually. I mean, I suppose I've always been in a role where I used to be a painter and decorator when I left school. So I suppose, yeah, you could say I've been good with my hands.
Joe, is he good with his hands?
I'm glad you said that because I never was good.
Sorry, I do apologise for dropping that in there, but I had to.
Okay.
I couldn't let that opportunity pass.
Just for the people at home, Joe's my wife. She's
Joe is his wife. His beautiful wife.
Yes, my gorgeous wife and assistant.
She can talk as well. Make a right pair between them. Perfect company. So, what age were you when you finally discovered dance music?
I would say I was probably about 19.
So you were already
18,
graphing
19.
and tagging at that stage.
Yeah, so I got more into music because about 1988 I got done for tagging. So at that point I kind of got all my stuff confiscated and my parents weren't happy at all. So I was kind of forced to give up pursuing my street art tagging graffiti era. And then I got more into the music then, and I think back then there was a club in Wolverhampton called the Lord Raglan. Mm-hmm. With hip hop, it was never really a big dance scene. Yeah. It was more like bedroom music. Yeah. So lots of people were into hip hop, but listened to it in their bedroom, and there weren't many clubs that featured it. So there was this one club in Wolverhampton called the Lord Raglan on a Wednesday, and there was a handful of us who used to go there because they used to play a very small selection of hip hop throughout the night. Right. And we just stood there like moody people while like the rave was on and chuntering away, what's this rubbish. But then, obviously, the more weeks you go, there's certain tunes that stand out and you get used to them, and then next thing you know, we're dancing to those tunes. So I started to become more accustomed to like rave music, as people classed it then, or hardcore.
As it was breaking through and finding its feet.
So I suppose really for me, I'd say about 88 is when I started to...
right at the beginning, really, when the acid house was kicking about and breaking through.
Yeah.
Okay. So your first rave?
First rave I went to?
First rave you went to? And was it as a DJ or was it as a raver?
It was as a raver. So I used to go to the Eclipse, the Edge quite a bit as a raver and as a DJ. Went to raves like Do It at the Zoo in Birmingham. Right. We used to go to Time, Spectrum, Nemesis in Leicester. We went to Perceptions. So they were probably coming up more to like 1991.
91, yeah. Just Robbie D was in earlier, and we were talking about Perception quite a bit as well. He was saying how it was, how did he describe it, as lightning in a bottle. It was that good when it kicked in.
Yeah, I mean, Perception was amazing. I mean, I went there as a punter. Although I was kind of DJing then, or trying to break onto the scene, I wasn't there performing, but I went there as like a punter, and yeah, there was like a big crowd there. But I remember I went back to the car because the last set of the night was Sasha, and I never did his music.
Bit slow for you, bit mechanical?
He was too mellow for me.
Too mellow. Yeah. He was always on the mellow end of the spectrum, wasn't he?
Yeah.
To be honest, it was very rare that you really would see Sasha on a mainstream sort of hardcore flow. You know, he was more edging on that house tip from the beginning, and obviously it's worked for him because of where he is today.
The early Eclipse stuff, though, he was on those events regular, and you know, you had the likes of
Big Love as well, didn't he?
Doc Scott, Dobbo, Groove Rider. So he was up there with those names. Carl Cox. Like if you look back at some of the very early, like kind of Eclipse flyers, the first ever ones, that he was performing there. Because I think then there was no barriers, there was no restrictions.
He was at Shelley's as well at the same sort of time, wasn't he? So,
because you had Amnesia who were doing like nights at Shelley's.
That's right.
And they used to have Sasha on as well.
He certainly done alright for himself, didn't he?
Yeah.
Had a couple of good decisions. So what standout rave is there for you? What's the most, of all the events that you've played at, which one would you say stands out most? Has the fondest memories for you? Just one. There can only be one. Obi Kenobi. Sorry, Pilgrim.
Just two, actually. That was free. But you want one, so...
Just one.
Cornetto.
Sorry.
My favourite flavour, Cornetto, is SM58 flavour.
I would say the one that sticks out the most to me is Fantasia Castle Donington.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah. It's, as far as I know, it's definitely the biggest one that I performed at.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was a big event.
They did say that there was I think initially there was meant to be 21,000, 25. But then
I can tell you it was 32,000.
people said that there was more because there was a lot of people who got in unofficially.
Over the fence, and I know for a fact that there was more tickets than that sold for it.
But for me, it was I always remember that I got the midnight set and they had a drawbridge on the stage.
Yeah.
And as it dropped down, I just saw the crowds and it just went for it looked like miles and then it dipped up at the back.
Six in all the footage for it looked absolutely mental.
Yeah.
And who was emceeing your set that night? You remember?
No.
No?
No.
No? God. Your memory's getting worse than mine, mate. Your memory's getting
53.
worse than mine.
53.
Well, going back 30 years ago, though, a little while ago.
I can't remember if it was Lenny or Iron Baseman. No, they were on
Probably,
Razzies.
possibly Lenny.
Yeah.
From what
I know they were there. It's funny actually because I was listening to a tape the other day. A CD, and it was like an old Basement and his lyrics back there.
They've changed, haven't they? So
compared to what they are now.
It's funny because 2 days ago I found, I think, just out of chance I was going through and I found a loose Quest CD, just one CD. It was weird after going to Quest last weekend as well, just to find the one CD, and it's got Bassman on it, and it's absolutely banging set. It's ruthless, but his style was different, and I just love that old Bassman style, and it worked well.
Yeah, definitely.
Changed a bit over the years.
Every MC, those got their own unique style that they bring.
Of course they have, 100%.
But it's weird how he was back then to how he is now.
Yeah. As in his style.
Yeah, cause the journey that he's took as well, and what's the word I'm looking for? Everyone looks up to him now for the lyrics that he drops and his style, and for how he was back then, you'd have never thought that person would have got to that.
To reach where they have.
Where he is now.
Yeah. And again, like you say, it's unique. Everyone has their own way and has their own style. It's unique and it works.
Mm-hmm.
It works for him, that's for sure. So going back quickly to the graffiti side of things.
Yeah.
Going back to when you were talking sort of late 80s, or the 80s, early 90s, and it was actually classed as vandalism.
Yeah.
It was frowned upon. It was something like, if you got caught tagging or you graffiti, it was classed as vandalism, something you get prosecuted for. Whereas now, in this day and age, it's actually accepted and it's called street art.
Yeah.
So where people like yourself who have got the talents are given spaces where they can go and use that creativity and put it to use. For example, the tunnel we drove through in Wolverhampton last week, which has got your work wall to wall all the way through it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas back in the 80s, that wouldn't happen. You'd never get commissioned to be able to do that artwork.
Not a chance.
So what would you think made that perception change with people?
I think, obviously, media, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nowadays, in the society that we live in, you've got all sorts of media available to everyone.
Yeah.
And things have just become a lot more acceptable.
Totally.
I think people now can see the artwork for what it really is, and it is talent. I know many people who do it, and they're very talented people. And I think a lot of places now recognise that because, you've got shops who want their shutters doing, they want the side of the wall
Gyms
doing.
that want the walls doing.
Yeah, whereas in the 80s, you've got no chance. You'd be
People's
hard
bedrooms,
You'd
everything.
be lucky if you had someone who would let you do their bedroom.
I think back in the day, I think, not that I've experienced that, but you would struggle to find somewhere to actually display your talents and actually to put them up. Whereas
You'd
in
have
this day
to
and
stalk
age,
about in the middle of the night and, do a wall on the side of a train line.
Night creeping.
Or you'd do a subway, or you'd do the side of a wall where there's going to be traffic passing by.
Yeah.
That's how it was back then.
You see bits appear and then the next day there'll be a bit more done, or...
Yeah, because you do it in stages because, you know, you
reduces the risk of getting caught.
You could get about 20 minutes into it and you hear something, so you
go
do one and then you come back another time to finish it off.
Yeah.
I always remember that there was one that I did about 87, and it was right on just as you're coming out of Wolverhampton train station. And I remember I went to it the one night, emulsioned up the wall. Then I went back to it the next night, and then I put my outline on, started like filling in with the colours, and then I heard some noises, and I heard some noises, and I just scarpered. But where it was literally, I was probably about, I'd have said, 50 feet from the actual train station.
Did it get completed?
It looked completed, so I was happy with that. And the funny thing is, you come out the train station now and you can still see some remnants of
parts of it.
Yeah.
Madness.
Yeah.
I have to stop.
Right,
Sorry, guys.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to a brand that you are hugely associated. You're one of the original DJs from when Gerald and Carl were running Quest back in the day. Quest being in your hometown of Wolverhampton, your on the doorstep club.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a lot of history there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Can you just tell me where that journey with Quest started? And, you know, and I've also been asked to ask you what your favourite Quest night in particular was, and I can imagine that's pretty hard for you to actually remember back, because I'm sure there's many nights that are memorable for you. But into the journey, Quest.
Okay. So, Quest, it started in September 1991.
Yeah.
The opening night, there was myself, Rap, Top Buzz, and it was basically to test the water and see how it would actually go down, and it went down really well. So quickly off the back of that,
many
nights.
people at the first one?
Yeah, it was busy.
It was busy.
Yeah.
So it was from the start. It was.
Yeah, I mean the venue as well, Palomas, where
small,
it was
wasn't
held. No, it wasn't small. It was.
No,
It was
I
quite
never
big.
went in, but I always got the impressions it was sort of 500-600. Was it bigger?
I can't remember the exact amount, but I know that there's probably a couple of times they're packed in. Probably I'd say 900, because you could get a lot of people in there, because like it was a big open space, because you went up the stairs and it was just like an open. It was more like a function room. I mean, they use it now as, I think it's Riley's. It's a pool hall.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, for a 9 till 2 club, it had a lot of stuff that a lot of all-nighters never had.
Yeah.
You'd have lasers there, you had like the robots there, you had Prodigy perform there. So
it's crazy to think how Prodigy used to perform at places like Kinetic, Leisure Bowl and Quest, and then they've gone on to performing in front of went on to performing in front of hundreds of thousands or millions of people worldwide. Just like nuts, from small clubs to international stadiums.
Yeah, but it's weird. I mean, I always remember that there was me and a few of my mates. We were like going to clubs, and we were actually thinking about putting on a night ourselves. And we went to the Dorchester in Wolverhampton, which was a similar venue to the Eclipse. It looked very similar. Like you had a dance floor, you had a balcony that went around the top, a little DJ booth. So I remember there's myself, Boogie, Ronnie, Dave Crumpton. There was a few of us. We went to have a look at these clubs on the basis that we were going to put a night on, and then we approached Picasso's.
Right.
And I remember that we had a meeting with Carl and Jess, and they explained that they wanted to do something, and we talked about me DJing at the event.
Right. So coming on board as a sort of resident DJ.
So that's how it started, basically.
Right, okay.
The opening night came, I was on there, got Rap and Top Buzz, and the rest is history.
Yeah. It was a very historical brand. It's synonymous with the rave scene across the UK, but I know the artists that perform there, if you look back at some of the flyers, some of the lineups were absolutely nuts for the size of the club.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like I say, for a 9 till 2 club, I mean, if you look at some of the flyers from like 92, 93, even 94, you've got like 4, maybe 5 headline DJs on one night.
Two of the other residents at Quest with you, Scarlett was resident MC, I think.
Yeah, you got MC Joker as well, you got Ned Ryder, you've got
Ned.
Ammo, you've got Boogie was someone that played a couple of times at the very early stages. Yeah. You've got there was a lad called Trips, There was DJ Kidd, who played a few
Yeah,
times.
from Scotland.
Ratty, you could say he was a resident because there was a lot of times that he would come down, and same with myself, there'd be nights where we'd go there.
Bring your records with you anyway.
Yeah, we'd take our records, even though we weren't on, hoping someone wouldn't turn
Yeah,
up.
that was standard practice back then. That's how a lot of DJs got booked. You take your records with you. If somebody did turn up, jump on.
It was that good a club that a lot of people came just for a night out, or they were happy to play there more or less every week. It's like Jason and Patrick; they were there. They were regulars because they enjoyed the club, and they were like basically almost like a local.
Yeah.
But they knew everyone, and people accepted them. And it was one of those things. Same with Ratty as well. Tango. A lot of people, Fallout, would come up there regular.
Yeah.
So it was like a night out as well as being there to perform too.
Yeah. Bit of a social for artists as well as the ravers, which is nice. Wicked. Okay. Right. Coming to more recent. You've recently stopped playing out.
Yeah.
Can I ask the reason why? I think I know the reason why, but can we discuss this and tell the people why?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I think you had like the rave scene kind of come back round again, and you had it branded as old school. And I think for many years now, a lot of the music that's been played out in the clubs just got repetitive, and it's. For me, I always liked to dig deep. I was never an anthem killer.
No, you weren't.
And
you always look deep into that massive box of records.
I weren't the person who would take just one record bag that would have probably about 15 records in there to do an hour to play a planned set. I would have maybe a record box, 2 bags. I'd go with a big selection because the thing is, if you play a tune and it doesn't go down well, you need to take that off quick to put something else on.
Especially if you only got one style with you.
Yeah. If you've got a planned set and it's going to hit up, basically, you've got to stick with that.
You know as well as I do, what you can play in one club, a crowd will go nuts for. You play it in another club and it can clear the dance floor.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely have to have that ammunition with you.
Especially playing up and down the country because styles differed so much from like the north to the south, to the west coast.
You always found that the further north you went, the more sort of happy or hardcore or piano it went, and the further south you went, it tended to get darker as it went down south. But again, that made it interesting because then with artists coming from London to the Midlands and vice versa, Midlands to London or Manchester, it just brought all those different styles together at the events, which helps to help create our history that we have with rave music.
Mm-hmm. So for me, like I say, I was never really into anthems, so over time I just found that you'd put something on a rare track and it would clear a dance floor because a lot of the people who were going to events, they were just like, they just wanted to hear the same old, and it's like your train spotters, your anoraks who knew their music had been forced away from the clubs because those people were like,
they don't want to hear the commercial stuff.
They don't want to hear the commercial stuff over and over again, and
it's understandable.
So for me, I suppose I kind of.
I think some DJs have a fear. I think of playing something different as well because of that reaction, because of people. And I don't think you ever particularly did that. Do you know what I mean? I think you always played to the crowd rather than playing what you wanted to play all the time.
Well, that's what it was about for me because at the end of the day, the crowd's. You're there for the crowd because at the end of the day they're supporting you and you've got to play for them because if you start playing for yourself and people walk off the dance floor and then word goes round, you weren't that good. Yeah. No one's going to be interested in wanting to listen to you again.
Fair play.
But yeah, for me, it got to a point where I just felt the buzz wasn't there for me anymore and playing the same old tunes. And I noticed the events, they just didn't. It's as if people were going through the motions, and a lot of the clubs just seem to not have that buzz anymore. And for me, I just thought
you lost the oomph.
I'd say when COVID hit, and then we came out of COVID, I think one of the first ever nights that was on, there was a big night over in Birmingham, and for the reputation that it had, and for the DJs that were on the lineup, that should have basically sold out 10 times over. but it didn't. And on the night as well, the vibe there was just non-existent.
Yeah.
And for me, that just summed it all up. The time to call it a
Enough.
day. So yeah, for me, that was like basically the last one.
At the end of the day, what I look at it is if you're not playing with passion, or me as an MC, if I'm not MCing with passion, I know I'm not going to be delivering my best.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be, and as I'm sure you don't want to be out there performing without having your heart in it and not giving the people the best version of you that's possible.
Yeah, exactly. And that was why, for me, I thought, I could carry on going through the motions, playing to places. But for me, I always put my heart and soul into things.
Yeah.
I always make sure that I take pride in doing a good job. And that's why, for me, I just thought, I can't do it anymore. Because there's no point in me delivering like half a set when my heart's not in it. Because it's not fair to the public who are paying good money.
No. Fair play to you, mate.
And I know that, yes, I've said that I've retired, and I know that I've probably done the odd set here and there, and people go, oh, has he really retired? But I have.
Done.
Yeah, I mean,
Done.
yes, I have done the odd party, but that's more probably because of,
He's officially retired. We'll never play again until I blag him into playing for me next time. Is there any particular standout, like, funny moment that's ever happened when I'm sure there's many, but any particular funny standout moment?
I think the main one that I can remember off the top of my head was Pandemonium JJ's in Willinghall.
Yeah, Mr. B's.
Yeah, I was DJing, so I was playing vinyl back then, because that's what it was. And a guy leant over to ask me to play something, but as he did, he knocked a drink over, and I just remember seeing this drink just go all over the record, and then the needle just caught the drink, and then it went, and then the needle just shot off. And then there was silence. But then everyone was looking at me. It's like saying, what have you done? And I'm there looking at this guy.
You're like, what the fuck? Slight technical fault. MC's like...
I was there checking my vinyl to try and get all the drink off it.
Inside of your t-shirt, shimmying it
Yeah.
down. Like.
But yeah, that's one that sticks in my mind.
Did he apologise?
I honestly can't remember.
No.
I really don't know. He probably did at the time, but obviously with like all those people like looking at you and you're like panicking and trying to get music back on, it probably just went over my head.
So what other clubs did you enjoy playing at? What other clubs were good for you? Kinetic? Because you played around a lot. Milwaukee's?
Yeah, there was lots. I mean, Milwaukee's, Bedford, I played there. Herne Bay, there's one there.
Gutted I never went to Milwaukee's. It's one place that I'm devastated I never went to.
It was a mad club. Stearns, Worthing, that was good
that's
as
my
well.
hometown, Worthing anyway. House on the Hill. That was a wicked venue. And Herne Bay, what was there? Winter Gardens or something?
No, I played at a big event there. What was it called now? I can't remember.
There used to be a few down that way, didn't there? Margate.
There was a few, yeah. I even played at AWOL once, the club. I never played there once, I was on early.
Yeah.
But Labyrinth, played there quite a few times.
Yeah.
That was quite a good club. Double dipped in Bagley's, yeah.
That's quite a good night as well. That was when I was living down in London around that time. It was like '98.
Yeah, it was an amazing venue.
That was just like the name. That was a labyrinth in itself going into Bagley's, because it just sort of you went through one room into another. It was like a big long corridor.
I'm trying to think what others.
Pleasure Dome used to play
Venue
that a lot, didn't you?
yeah.
Vibalite,
Venue
Gary.
44, yeah, I was going to say Vibalite.
You were very popular at Vibalite.
Pleasure Dome, yeah, Gary. I played there
Gary
quite a few times, yeah.
Bogey's gone now, and he's well, bless his soul.
Yeah. Nottingham played. I've played plenty places.
Yeah.
There's just too many to mention. Wicker Archie, Sheffield.
Yeah, that was a good little venue as well.
Yeah. Played
Uprising you played for quite a lot as well, didn't you?
Yeah,
Brian
and Paulo and Brian.
Yeah. It's funny, Paul actually dropped in about 4 or 5 weeks ago. He was working with a lad in Stoke. I was looked out the room and there was Paulo walking over the road.
Nice.
So it was nice to see him.
Yeah.
He's just done a podcast as well. So
Has he?
yeah, I'm going to have to have a watch of that because he's an interesting guy, Paul. He's got a good background, good story, and I think Uprising as well. They're a quality brand that have been around for a long time.
I think when I was playing there, because obviously over the years my style of music changed. So Quest was like kind of hardcore, but then I think as music started to change, it got more dark, jungly, breakbeats.
You went a bit more down the hardcore,
hardcore
side.
I went more down the happy hardcore side because for me, it's like the crowds were more, the music was more uplifting. It seemed a friendlier,
just a better vibe.
Yeah, better vibe. And I think that we were at that stage in the club scene where you started to get the moody heads coming in.
Yeah.
And
that element was never really required or needed,
Yeah.
but I think it was always going to creep in eventually, especially with the sort of jungle drum and bass element,
Yeah.
rather than the happy hardcore. And I think that sort of 95, when it did split, really sort of split, didn't it?
Yeah.
Your hardcore went totally one way and your jungle broke off, and you lost that sort of breakbeat element where there was a crossover. It did really split itself
Yeah, because
up.
if you listen back to, I mean, for example, like my Dance Nation set, that was
The edge of
92, but yes, it was like, now the one that was at Western Park.
The Telephone one.
Telephone,
Yeah, I was
yes.
asked a question about this earlier. Marky Taylor. Do you remember a Michael Jackson lookalike, or
I
apparently
do.
coming on the stage and dancing on the stage? He said, did that happen, or was it the drugs?
No, it did really happen.
It did really happen.
There was someone that came on. I don't know what the relevance was behind it, but yeah, there was a Michael Jackson lookalike that came on the stage. Some people said it was Robbie D. I don't know. But yeah.
I should have asked him before.
Yeah.
I should have asked Robbie that question as well. In fact, I'm going to phone him after and find out now. I'm going to have to find out.
Yeah, that was something where you listen back to that set and you'll hear that there are tunes, 92, that you could probably say that was more like happy hardcore because you've got the breakbeats in, you've got vocals, you've got pianos, and I played quite a mix.
Do you have a favourite tune? Is there any one standout tune you go, bam, that?
Yeah, Cyanide 45, Notice Me.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
People, if they've heard that track and they know that track, they know that song's Milk because I used to play that all the time.
So that epitomises Mr. Pilgrim.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay. We were talking the other week as well. We were sort of coming out of the moody element that we were just mentioning. We were talking last weekend when we were out and about was it the Mercia Leisure Centre? It's funny because this week I was going through some flyers and I actually picked out that flyer for the Mercia Leisure Centre, and as I saw it, it reminded me of our conversation. And I thought it might be something to discuss today. We were talking about the moody element of things happening in the club. Tell me about that night. It sounded like it was a bit interesting.
That's one of my worst memories of
Rave.
of a club, yeah. So I can't remember the guy's name, I can't remember the promoter, but I remember I got booked for a night at West Mercia Leisure Centre.
Mercia Leisure Centre,
that was it, in Coventry, and played on the night. It was busy in there, all was going good. Then waiting in the forum bit in the corridor for the promoter end of the night to come and pay me. Outside, all hell breaks loose, kicks off, all these vans turn up and there's all these lads that get out, baseball bats, chains, and there's like a mad riot going on outside the front of the venue. And I remember one of the guys who worked with the promoter saying, you need to go out the back door.
You're like, I want my money, they're going to go.
No. When I saw what was going on out the front, I thought, yeah, forget my money. I just went out the back door.
Bounce.
Yeah, we just went. Because as we drove off, we could see people like proper getting like done over. I mean, I don't know to this day what was going on there, but something serious was going on because, like I say, people were proper like tooled up. They'd got chains, bats, they'd come out of vans. I don't know if it was like a rivalry between like certain areas of Coventry,
sounds
or
like
whether it was like a Birmingham Coventry thing. But I remember afterwards trying to get hold of the promoter to get my money, and I could never get hold of it
Needless
again.
to say, that one you didn't get paid for.
No, so if you know who you are, you still owe me some money. But yeah, that's like my worst one really that I can think of. But like I say, I mean, on the night, in there, the vibe was good. It was just outside. But yeah, that always sticks with me. That does Mercia Leisure Centre. I think that may have been about back end of 92. Could have been 93.
Yeah,
But yeah.
sounds like fun.
Yeah. Someone out there would know the event because someone would have gone.
I found a flyer for an event there the other day. It's probably a completely different event, but
Yeah.
Mad.
But yeah, I think I have played some
If
dodgy
you owe
clubs.
Paul some money from 1992, 1993, if you don't pay it back, I'm going to come round your house and you've had it, son. All right? Cough up.
I think the interest over the years as well will be quite substantial.
Yeah, I think, with my fee as well, mate, my little cut for retrieving, we
okay.
do all right, eh?
Yeah.
Like bailiff services.
Yeah.
Right, okay, I'm going to run a few quick fire questions at you.
Okay.
I think with yourself, like most people, I think it's probably going to take more than one sit-in to get through or scratch the surface, because your story is deep, 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 deep. Before I ask you the quick fire questions, we have here behind us this absolutely fantastic book. And I know it's fantastic because I have a copy myself at home. And it is a proper quality book. It's not a flimsy paperback. It is solid, ram-packed. You wouldn't want to drop it on your toe, put it that way. It's a heavy, hardcore book, and it is packed to pack with glossy quality pages. I'm not just saying that because he's been made. I'm saying it because he has put together a quality package. If you're into your 80s street art, graffiti, vandalism, whatever you want to call it, I'll call it street art. It's called Oh So Cool. It's 80s UK graffiti, compilated by Paul and Stephen.
Yep.
Together. I believe it's been that successful. It's on display in the Saatchi Gallery in London, which in itself is a massive achievement. Everyone in the background, whoop, whoop. It's a huge achievement, you know, to come. There was a warm rush blowing over himself. And you know, to come from where you have to developing music to become a top old school, top hardcore jungle DJ. You work full time as well.
Mm-hmm.
For a living, you are a
plumber.
So if you've ever recognised Paul from coming round and fixing your taps or your boiler.
Not boiler,
yes,
no.
It was not boiler taps. Oh, okay. It was Pilgrim. But you've moved on and with your graffiti and your street art, you do some wonderful things with it. You've done some great work recently. You had a fantastic piece for Top Buzz, which I think is over in Telford Way. Remember, it's adjacent and it looks wicked. But to really sort of reinvent yourself and come through with something fresh like this, for me, I think it's brilliant. It's exciting. It's new. It's a great book. It's giving you something to work on.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about the book.
Yes.
In your terms. I'll shut up for a minute.
Okay, so this all came about because with my past in graffiti, stemming back to the late 80s, and I lost a lot of my old photos and outlines. I then, when Facebook came about, started up a group on there, 80s Old School Graffiti, which at the moment's got about 19,800 members on it. But my idea...
That's a lot.
There's a couple
That's
on
a
there.
lot, yeah.
A few. And then the idea behind setting that up was to see if I could get people on that group who may possibly still have old pictures, and I might come across my old work again. So that got set up. Over the years, that's grown and grown, and that's got purely just like 80s graffiti in there. Not from just this country.
How many pictures have you been sent in total? I dread to think. So how many's in there? Is there 400 pages or something in there?
There's 376 pages, so there's over 2,000 images in there.
That's a lot of images, man.
It is. I mean, I had twice as much that I submitted, but if we'd have put more images in, we'd have either had to shrink down the size of the images, which makes it harder to look at, or we'd have had to basically double the size of the book, which would have doubled the cost. And to be honest, we have to make it affordable. So
you wouldn't want to make some of these images smaller, because it's with a lot of it, it's not just the main part of the artwork you look at. It's some of the background and some of the taggings in the backgrounds and the things that are kind of almost hidden from your direct first. And when you look at them deeper, you see so much in the background that's going on with them, and little things you're like, ah, shit, look at that, and things that you wouldn't notice if it was smaller. So I think you made the right decision to do it that way, mate. Definitely.
Yeah, but with what I've got left over, I'm now currently working on a follow-up book at the moment, which is called The Lost Years. So again, it's based on 80s UK graffiti, and it'll pick up where this book left off. So that'll be coming out later in the year. So look out for that. It is available on pre-order at the moment.
Can you tell everybody where it's available, where they can find you, or where they can follow you?
You can find the links for it on my pages, whether that's like my own personal page or on my DJ Pilgrim page or
Is it on Facebook?
Pilgrim's Projects page, yeah, on Facebook.
So Pilgrim's Projects on
But the
Facebook.
main place really where you can get it is directly through the publishers, Morton's Books. It is available on Amazon as well, and it is available through eBay on the Morton's page that they run on there. But this all came about because Steve works for Morton's, and they put out a very similar book that was based on 80s BMXing, and it was called We Are Rad. And what had happened is they decided that they wanted to do something. They wanted to keep the 80s theme, and they wanted to do something about graffiti.
Right.
So
Retro's popular full stop at the moment,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So what happened is they sent a message into the group, and because being admin of the group, I have to monitor everything because there's a lot of rubbish that gets posted
course
that's
there
not
is.
relevant.
Yeah.
Anyway, I saw this message asking if there's anyone who wanted any, if they had any images to share, to get in touch. So I messaged the guy and explained what I did and who I was, and he said basically, you sound like the ideal candidate, and went from there.
Perfect.
So we started talking, we put a plan together, got a design. So the design, the basis of this is, as most people may recognise, the colours are from Kodak, because back in the 80s,
Kodak film strip.
anyone who was taking pictures, we were all using 110 disposable cameras,
films.
and Kodak were basically the main people who made them.
Pre-digital people, pre-digital.
Or Fuji. So the next book is similar kind of style. So you've got the strip in the middle,
Yep.
but obviously the green and the silver and the black on the new book that's coming out. People will recognise that because it's the colour of the Fuji boxes.
Right, cool.
So it's keeping the theme of pictures, 80s, relevant to the book.
Old So Cool from Morton Books.
Yeah.
Get it. Okay. Right, okay. So
Yeah, with the book itself, it's split into sections. So because it covers the UK, you've got a section in there based on the north area of the country. You've got the south in there. You've got the Midlands. You've got the east, and you've got the west. But also as well in the book, I wanted to represent writers who are no longer with us, who painted back then.
King Robbo, for example.
Yeah, people like Robbo. There's a few people in there, and I suppose really just to make their memories last as well.
Yeah.
So
Kind of immortalise their work.
yeah, and also there's a section in there that showcases a lot of the writers who painted back then who are still writing and haven't stopped. So it's got
Example?
work in there. People like
Inky.
Kem Vegas. You got the likes of Score. You got Kilo. There's many in there, but basically these are people who've been writing since back then, never stopped, and showing you what they're producing nowadays, so you can see the difference on the journey that they've took as well from what they used to do to the styles that
I suppose
available
like
now.
with the DJ adapting and changing musical styles,
Yeah.
artists that have the same influences come along and they've changed
Yeah,
their
because
own.
I mean, you know, paint's influenced a lot of people, techniques, also as
Yeah.
well, I suppose media's influenced people.
Fashion, I
because-
guess, as well.
Yeah, media as well, because people see images that, you know, like these big advertising companies have made, and people recreate them.
Yeah,
So yeah,
totally.
so it's just showing where it came from to where it is now, and that'll be the same with this new book as well. So we'll keep the same kind of theme, whereby there's a lot of work out there that, like I say, I could probably fill these books 3, 4, 5 times over. There's just so much out there because every area had its own graffiti artist or graffiti crew. There's probably about 5, 10, maybe more.
Very
Some of the bigger
synonymous with music and the sort of and the way things clicked in different areas
I mean,
as well.
it's weird as well that a lot of people who've followed the same kind of journey as myself, they were originally into hip hop when they left school, they got into graffiti, they then got into the rave scene. There's so many people who I've spoken to who've had that same journey.
It's a good journey though.
Yeah,
Seems to have worked out alright for you.
yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Good. I'm sure the people have enjoyed what you are. I know for a fact that people enjoy what you do. So you performed for me since 1999. I think you played the first one as well as Robbie did.
Illusion.
Yeah. The Void. You played for us ever since, and there are very many different brands that we've used and worked with. So we've had a good personal journey as well.
Yeah.
We've done quite a few sets together over the years.
Yeah, definitely.
Knocked about a bit all over the place. A few motorway trips.
Yeah, there's been a few. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I'm just going to a few quick questions. Just going to run through them dead quick with the same questions as I've asked Robbie, and I'm going to fire these at everybody. They're just quick. They're a bit of fun. One answer, one only. Favourite DJ?
Me.
Bush. Okay, favourite DJ? Pilgrim. It's Pilgrim. Favourite MC?
Me.
Favourite food? Hold on.
Okay.
Favourite DJ? Give me a DJ now.
Mickey Finn.
Mickey Finn. Favourite MC? Come with it. Who? Come on, it's got to be somebody who you love hosting your sets. Think way back. It was somebody that you just think, click, bump. I had a guess earlier. I had a guess earlier who your answer would be for DJ and MC. I was wrong with the DJ. Scarlett. That's exactly what I said. That's what I said. I knew it'd say Scarlett.
There was a few, and I was
Yeah. Well, it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's a very difficult question for you. I think when I was on somebody did a podcast with me the other week, they went Ribs or Sharky, and the one answer I'm like, fuck, they're both like really good mates. It's like, how the fuck? And I went with Ribsy just because he was there.
I'd have to agree with you there, because for me, Ribs as well.
But both very talented MCs with unique styles, but I had to go with Ribsy. Right, favourite food?
Fast.
Favourite food?
Chicken. And Stacey salad.
Favourite nationality of food?
Oh, Italian.
Italian, okay. Favourite venue?
Food.
Right, I'm going home. Favourite venue?
Club-wise, Eclipse.
Okay. Favourite event ever?
Castle Donington Sundays.
Okay. Rum or vodka?
Rum.
Hardcore or jungle?
Jungle.
You're going to say that. Craziest hairstyle you ever had? And we will be putting an image with this.
I think I've had a few. I had one where I was blonde. I had dreadlocks. Dreadlocks, it's got to be.
I think the dreadlocks one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And what was your favourite year for rave music? 1 year. If you could pick any 1 year, what year would you say was the year?
It's got to be 92.
92.
There's so many big raves that happened. 92, 93, Tribal Gathering.
Robbie said 93. That's
Dance
what I was saying.
Nation, Fantasia.
There was some monsters, weren't there?
Yeah. Because I think it just really boomed then, so...
It went nuts, mate. It was off the hook. Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to see anything. Well, we won't see anything like it. It was a revolution in music in itself.
Yeah.
I think every sort of 10 years or 15 years, something comes in and hits big time, and our time was the rave scene.
Yeah, and I think no matter how many times you try to recreate it, it will never be the same.
Yeah,
because things have changed so much.
Still some good parties. There are some good parties.
There are good parties, but they won't be what they were.
As I've said this before as well, technology has killed a lot of it. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
I think if you take the cameras and the phones out of clubs again, it's not going to be the same, but I think it would sort of give it a feeling of being there for the moment rather than being there to record the moment.
I think the problem is nowadays that we live in a nation that like everything's throwaway, and that's why with the book I never went digital. It went back to like old school, something in your hand that you can hold, that you read and you look at. Problem with digital, over the years, and I've seen it with music, one person gets it, it can be shared within minutes, and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas something like this, where it's in your hand,
it's material, isn't it?
Yeah. If you give that
you
to your friend,
you can't duplicate it.
No. If you give that to your friend, you want it back, because if you've paid good money for that, you want it back. Whereas if it's like, it's easy to be copied with with file sharing, and for me, that was another reason why music, it just added to that.
It was nice back in the day when the DJs would get a white label, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'd get a press or something out there to go out and play, something fresh for the crowds. It still happens, it's digital, but everybody gets sent a copy, or gets sent in a pack.
In my early years of like DJing, I used to always be up, and a lot of people will know me from being in Red Records on the Friday afternoon or early Saturday morning, and I'd be up there because that's when all the white labels would come in, and I'd be in there listening to them,
grabbing them fresh.
And it was good to go home, you get white labels, you'd listen to them, you'd play them out, knowing that you were breaking that new material to people.
Where did you get most of your new vinyl from, new releases? Or what shops did you use mainly?
Only Red Reds.
Ruby Reds.
Yeah.
That was there until recently, wasn't it, I think? Was it a few years back?
It's been gone a few years. I used to go to Pure in Birmingham, and that was Lenny's shop.
Was it Don Christie's as well?
Don Christie's, Tempest.
Yeah, Tempest.
I went down to London a couple of times. I went to MASH.
Yep.
Zoom Records, Camden. I went to Eastern Block as well.
So we used to go into Black Market Records on a Saturday, and you'd usually have either Nicky or Ray being there on a Saturday, and they'd be spinning the latest tunes.
I think I went there once, but it was random.
It was like
there.
a club.
Yeah.
You go in a Saturday, and it was packed.
Yeah.
Literally packed. You were in like a daytime rave. And I miss that with the scene as well. The sort of the record shops being everywhere, and that going in on a Saturday and picking up your flyers.
That's the problem nowadays. There's no real record shops out there.
No hubs.
No, it's like online, and again, there's no personalisation.
Same with most businesses, banks, and etc. It's all becoming a case where it's just all done online.
Yeah, I mean the thing is for me as well. The way I looked at it with the rave scene, my journey, why it came to an end, is that anyone can be a DJ now. It's so easy to be a DJ. You can basically put a few mixes together, put them out there online, on YouTube. You can be an instant hit. But you don't know how long it's took that person to do that mix. They could have took 3 weeks to put that mix, because from the end result, you can't tell.
Give that same person two vinyl records and two Technics decks. And I had this conversation with Slipmat a few weeks back. My opinion was that I don't think anybody's a DJ unless they can actually mix onto vinyl records and a standard mixer.
Yeah.
It might class yourself as a DJ if you can mix on. I'm not even familiar with a lot of the modern formats, controllers, whatever. But I think to really be able to class yourself as a DJ, you've got to be able to mix vinyl, and that's just my opinion. Everyone's got an opinion.
I mean, for me, I learnt the hard way. So my initial journey into DJing, so I had what was it called? It was a Tandy's mixer. It was about
Radio
that big.
Shack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't even Radio Shack. There were Tandy's, and Radio Shack was what they
Changed,
then moved on
didn't it?
to.
Yeah.
So I had one of them. I had a Citronic turntable which had pitch control.
Yeah.
My other turntable was one of those ones where it was just like, like the separates that come with two speakers.
Yeah.
It was one of those, like in a wooden box. So there was no pitch control on that. So when I'm mixing, if I'm mixing that track into the one that's got pitch control, I'd be speeding it up with my finger, and then as soon as I've knocked it across, and then you can hear that track, I'd let go, and then you go to its normal speed.
Back to where it started.
But that was how I started, and that was hard work, because when I first started DJing, I didn't go straight onto Techniques. I had to save up a lot of money to buy my Techniques. But that goes on to nowadays. You don't need Techniques. You got all these controllers. You don't need to know how to mix. You can press a sync button and it works out all the BPMs. You've just got to know your track and just know when to drop it in.
Look like you're pressing a few buttons and do this a little bit.
The whole thing has changed, because back then as well, to go to events, you have to be in the know. You have to know the right places to be. Nowadays, all that's gone. You don't have to be in the know about anything. You don't have to go to a shop. You could go onto a forum where basically people are just giving out their music online because they want to be discovered.
Or somebody to hear it or listen to
Yeah.
it.
So you could get a set full of music off your friends or off people who are swapping, and there's no exclusiveness anymore.
You can pay to play these days. Jokingly, I said to Stace, this is going back probably 10, 15 years ago. We were just joking one day and I said, we should do a rave and do it as pay to play. So it's like, well, obviously the promoter takes the risk, you know, and you pay the artist. And we were just joking, we were saying we should do events where people, DJs can pay and they can come and play. It'd be great. You walk away with a load of money and you get the door. It'd be great. And, you know, just as a joke.
Yeah.
And at the moment, there's packages and that out there where people can actually pay and go and play in certain clubs, and you're paying to play, but to get your name out there. So I suppose if you are good, and you will get noticed by the promoters being put in that position, I suppose it could benefit them. But I find it a funny old world where something that we joked about a good few years about, people are actually doing it. We said it in like a funny kind of way, and it's happening. We're like, why didn't we actually do that? You know, we could have done all right out of that.
It's the way you sound, like you say, everyone wants to, you know, everyone wants that next break, everyone wants to be the next discovery. Of course they do.
But the thing is, there's so many people trying to do it with social media that it's crazy.
But that's it for me. I've been there, done it. Time to move on.
Okay.
This is where I'm at now. It's someone else's
Will we
turn.
ever see you on the decks again?
No.
Okay. We'll see. Paul, I'd like to thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you.
As always, mate. Absolute gentleman.
Enjoyed it.
Pleasure to see you. Thank you for doing the graph out the back
Very
today.
welcome.
Again, it's the second piece you've done for us down here. If you need any graffiti doing, contact Paul, Pilgrim's Projects. He's rather excellent, as he is as a DJ and a top guy all round. Thank you for your time. History of Hardcore Podcast Part 3. God bless, thank you.
And yes, Pilgrim, when you're ready, wave your hands in the air. Bassman's out there. What do you fucking know?